As we know, Jews come in all shapes and sizes, short and tall, white and brown, Hillel and Shammai. That last category might be harder to fill out on a census, but it's a major one. The Jewish people have long differentiated themselves by the rabbinic opinions they follow. After the destruction of the Second Temple in 70 CE, Rabbinic Judaism became the center of Jewish life. And with the absence of priestly sacrifices and temple rituals, rabbis became the focal point of Jewish study and practice. But these great sages and leaders of the time feared for the survival of Torah study in the face of persecution and life in the diaspora. That's when a great scholar and leader named Rav Judah Ha-Nasi came to the rescue and made the innovative decision to write down parts of the Jewish oral law, editing and redacting what is known as the Mishnah. This changed the game for Judaism and Torah study, serving as the basis for the Talmud and the continued study and elucidation of Jewish law, or halacha, that the Jewish people practice to this day. Okay, just a little context for you. During the Hasmonean era, two prominent sects of Judaism emerge. The Pharisees believe, according to the practices dating back to the giving of the Torah at Sinai, that both the written and oral laws of the Bible are binding. They're the majority, and oppose the Hellenization, or assimilation into Greek culture, accepted by the Jewish political rulers of the time. The Sadducees, on the other hand, believe only the written law to be binding. This group consists of the social elite, who accept the secular Greek influence of Hellenization. The two sects have your regular old Taylor Swift-Katy Perry feud, and tensions exist throughout the final duration of the Hasmonean dynasty. The destruction of the Second Temple is horrific for all of the Jewish people, but especially the Sadducees, who essentially die out after the tragic event in 70 CE. At the same time, the Pharisees' ideology continues, and those who teach its laws begin to receive the title of rabbi. The era of Rabbinic Judaism emerges. The rabbis play the central role in Jewish life, replacing the temple as the focal point of law and custom. Every great tournament needs its team rivalry, and in Judaism, this is no less apparent than during the time of the Zugot. During the 2nd and 1st centuries BCE, Zugot, or rabbinic pairs, are established within the Sanhedrin, the highest judicial body of Judaism, which rules over legal and religious disputes. The Zugot are kind of like president and vice president, and are known as the Nasi and Av Beit Din. Their main mission is to learn all of the Torah and transmit it faithfully to the entire Jewish people and future generations. Often, a duo of conflicting opinions emerges from the positions of the Nasi and the Av Beit Din. These duos hash out the application of Jewish law, and by virtue of their vast knowledge are accepted as the keepers of Torah as it applies to daily religious life. The Zugot become the leaders of the people, transmitting the entire oral law to the next generation of Jews and tweeting the nation about their newest ideas. There were 4 different rabbinical pairs during the Hasmonean period, circa 142 BCE to 63 BCE, ending with Judah ben Tabai and Simeon ben Shetach. Simeon ben Shetach is responsible for several important rulings that become formative parts of Jewish practice and are some of my own personal favorites. He prescribes that children should attend school, and that a husband be held liable for the value of his entire property if he fails to fulfill the marriage contract with his wife. Simeon ben Shetach understands the value Judaism has always placed on education, and uses his position to make changes for the better of society and for the fulfillment of Torah law. The last of the Zugot, and arguably the most famous, is that of Hillel and Shammai. Hillel, known as Hillel HaZaken, or Hillel the Elder, becomes the central figure in Jerusalem and the leading opinion on many religious debates and practices. Hillel is born in Babylon and makes the trek to Jerusalem as a young man. He's appointed the president of the Sanhedrin in 30 BCE, 7 years after Herod comes to the throne. He gains universal respect for his high ethical standards. One of his most famous quotes becomes a central piece of Jewish philosophy. "If I'm not for myself, who is for me? But if I am for myself alone, what am I? And if not now, when?" Yeah, lots to unpack there. Hillel has many followers, possibly even more than Kylie Jenner has on Instagram. He founds a school known as Beit Hillel, or the House of Hillel. Some of his more outstanding disciples and descendants are Rabban Gamliel, who you may know from the Passover Seder, and Rabban Simon ben Gamliel. The former contributes important regulations on personal status and the leap year, and the latter becomes the supreme authority on Jewish law for the entire country, right before the Great Revolt against the Romans. Shammai is born in Judea and is eventually appointed to Veep of the Sanhedrin. He's a great scholar with many Insta followers of his own, who are known as Beit Shammai, or the House of Shammai. Shammai is considered more stringent on matters of Jewish law, and the public practice often sides with the more lenient Hillel. Shammai is known for his famous saying, "Make your study of the Torah a fixed practice, speak little but do much, and receive all men with a pleasant countenance." I should clarify something pretty major. Hillel and Shammai are actually friends and agree on most principles of Jewish law. They argue against one another in only 6 specific cases and agree on thousands. The two men may have had some fierce debates, but their opinions are anchored in the same traditions and they celebrate the same Judaism. Even when their disciples argue on over 300 cases through the following years, the two schools of thought still marry one another and harbor a deep respect for one another's opinions. Their debates are said to be true examples of controversy for the sake of heaven. Beit Hillel and Beit Shammai challenge Jewish followers even centuries later to argue not for our own sakes, but out of love of truth and love for others. During the latter era of the Second Temple, the study of and commentary on oral law begins to expand as it passes down from one generation to the next. The disciples of Hillel and Shammai continue teaching their practices as well as implementing opinions of their own. These teachers are known as Tannaim, Aramaic for repeaters or teachers, and Chachamim, Hebrew for wise ones. They become the unofficial leaders of the nation and in some cases are more influential than the official ones. They're the experts on law under the Torah, developing and interpreting it, as well as being teachers and moralists. After the destruction of the Second Temple, this focus on Torah as the governing force for everyday life becomes even more important. Without a physical capital to practice sacrifices and daily rituals, the Jewish people rely once again on Torah study and its commandments as a foundation for their national mission of living Torah-filled lives. Some big names emerge in the era of Tannaitic sages, many of them reaching celebrity status. They include rabbis like Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, Rabbi Akiva, and Rabbi Simeon ben Yochai. They continue to pass down the oral law to the people, share the rulings of the Zugot, and develop their own decisions on halacha, or Jewish law. Their study occurs mainly in the Beit Din, or Jewish school of higher learning, which centers in Yavne until the Romans move into the Galilee region after the Bar Kokhba revolt. But after the revolt, the threat against Jewish nationhood is at an all-time high. The Romans close down the Beit Din and expel almost all of the Jews from Judea. The Torah and the memories of the land of Israel remain the sole vestiges of nationhood among the scattered Jews in the diaspora. In a world where Judaism faces this real threat, one man takes remarkable initiative to preserve the values of Torah study and the continuity of the Jewish community. Rav Judah Ha-Nasi rises to fame in the Galilee in the north of Israel in the 2nd century. The grandson of Rabban Gamliel of Yavne, a former president of the Sanhedrin, Judah becomes the leading Torah scholar and therefore the official community leader when he assumes the title of president after the Romans once again permit self-governance within the Jewish community. Judah Ha-Nasi fears that the fragmentation of world Jewry might lead to the disappearance of a nation and the abandonment of Jewish law. The increasing persecution and dispersion in exile makes it very difficult for each generation to hold on to the vast body of Torah knowledge. Backed by the other sages of the time, he makes a bold decision to write down the bulk of the oral law. Until this point, oral law has remained, oral. It was prohibited to write down the Torah because this might equate human interpretation with that of divine text. Yet by Judah Ha-Nasi's time, the Jewish people and many Jewish scholars are facing persecution, and there's a real risk of losing all that had previously been passed down by word of mouth. Judah Ha-Nasi and the sages begin to compile some parts of the oral law into what we now call the Mishnah. The Mishnah translates to study in Hebrew and is comprised of 6 books and organized into 63 tractates. It's a miracle they found a publisher to print them all. Rav Judah Ha-Nasi organizes and edits the collection by topic in a clear, concise manner covering all areas of Jewish law. He writes down the laws just as they were received during his time, as a summation of different opinions where no final decisions have been reached. The Mishnah includes multiple perspectives on various matters, side by side with definite rulings handed down in earlier generations. It serves as a basic code of conduct, but more so, it provides later generations with the formulas for critical thinking and interpreting and developing Torah law. Until the Mishnah, Judaism had centered around the temple and the wisdom of the priests, known as Kohanim and Levites. With those positions now gone, Rabbi Judah Ha-Nasi shifts the center of Jewish life more toward Torah study and practice. It's said of Judah Ha-Nasi, from the time of Moses to the time of Rabbi Judah Ha-Nasi, Torah and greatness were never so concentrated in one person. Judah Ha-Nasi's primary goals are the maintenance and unity of the Jews in Israel, and he does this by encouraging widespread Torah study and observance of the religious and social code by all classes of people. He creates a social system based around the study of one unified text, and he preserves Hebrew as the language of prayer at a time when Aramaic is the daily language in the region. He becomes known simply as Rebbe, the teacher. During the 500 years of Roman rule, the Jewish people faced some harsh transitions into exile. Threats to the nation existed in the form of both persecution and dispersion. Yet, the presence of a Jewish people in the land of Israel never ceased. Men like Hillel, Shammai, and Rav Judah Ha-Nasi took bold actions to ensure the continuation of Torah and a central Jewish community. And the decisions they made to repurpose the oral law created a sustained system of Jewish life that has endured to this day. The Mishnah laid the foundation for the Talmud, which laid the foundation for further study and interpretation. 2 millennia later, still without a temple, the Jewish people continue to thrive both in the diaspora and the land of Israel, using the very same codes of law that were preserved in the Mishnah and Talmud so long ago. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed what you saw. If you'd like to see more of these videos, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you'll know first when we upload new videos.